Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to China Showtime. China is in trouble. In the last video, we talked about that 340 million Chinese are in smoking addiction. But the United States is in even more dire trouble. China is in smoking addiction. The United States is in drug addiction. China is the largest cigarette consumption market in the world. Chinese smokers consume 1/3 of the world's cigarettes every year. This number is really huge. The United States is the largest drug consumption market in the world. There are more than 23 million drug addicts in the United States. American addicts consume more than 60% of the world's drugs every year. If calculated by turnover, more than 80% of the world's drugs are consumed by Americans. This number is even more shocking. It is completely different from the smoking problem in China. The Chinese government could make $200 billion from Chinese smokers each year. But the U.S. government cannot collect any penny in taxes from the world's largest drug market.
No. Everything has changed now. Just last month, the first legal recreational marijuana dispensary of America opened in New York. That's one small step for President Biden, but one giant leap for the United States. What a great day! From now on, the U.S. government can make money from the drug market. Democrats will push to legalize more wonder drugs. Make it easy for every American to buy high-quality cocaine, heroin, meth, and any your favorite happy pills. Drugstores all over the America will give the government a steady stream of tax dollars. With the largest drug market in the world, the U.S. government will definitely be able to make a lot of money in the drug market, even more than the Chinese government make in the cigarette market.
In Mexico, there are the most rampant drug cartels in the world. They are famous all over the world for their blood and cruelty. They are lawless, and they don't even care about the Mexican government, because not even the Mexican army can defeat them. The reason why the Mexican drug cartels are so powerful is that they make too much money from the United States, the world's largest drug market. These criminal cartels, parasitic on the huge American drug industry, are not only addicted to violence, they also have very high attainments in the field of drug production. We know that medical painkillers and drugs are only a step away, and drug cartels certainly do. Over the years, they have been looking for ways to improve the quality of their products. About 20 years ago, they turned to a very popular narcotic drug, fentanyl. Fentanyl was first made by Paul Janssen in 1960 and approved for medical use in the United States in 1968. The action intensity of fentanyl is 60 to 80 times that of morphine. It acts rapidly and lasts for a short time. It does not release histamine, has little effect on cardiovascular function, and has weaker inhibitory effect on respiration than morphine. It is a very classic narcotic analgesic drug. Drug makers have found that mixing fentanyl with traditional drugs to make a new mixed drug has very good results. The addition of fentanyl can amplify the effect of traditional drugs, which can greatly improve the experience of drug users. And fentanyl is very cheap, which can reduce their drug production costs. This method of drug production mixed with fentanyl has rapidly become popular in the United States in the past 20 years. But there is a very big problem with doing this. Fentanyl is a very strong anesthetic, even more dangerous than ordinary drugs. Drug makers are very arbitrary about the dosage of fentanyl adulterated in their products, and drug users will never know if they have taken too much fentanyl. Without doctor's instructions, without drug instructions, unpredictable drug quality. And what's more troublesome is that The users of these drugs are often insane. With the popularity of fentanyl, the number of deaths from fentanyl abuse in the United States has risen like a rocket over the past decade. In 1990, 1,600 people in the United States died from fentanyl overdoses. In 2021, this number has risen to 71,000. As this method of mixing fentanyl with traditional drugs has become more and more popular, and there are also some drug addicts who take fentanyl alone. The United States has strengthened the control of fentanyl, and it is becoming more and more difficult and expensive to obtain fentanyl in the United States. Of course, the drug makers will not sit still. They turned their attention to the mysterious yeast. Driven by the huge market demand, fentanyl from China is continuously shipped to the United States. Of course, most of them are not imported through the U.S. Customs. In 2021, the U.S. government issued a wanted warrant, offering a reward of $5 million for Zhang Jian, a Chinese businessman who exported fentanyl to the United States. However, the Chinese government insists that this guy did not break any laws. The reason is that his actions took place before the signing of the U.S.-China Anti-Drug Cooperation Agreement, when fentanyl was not listed as a controlled drug in China, and all his goods were shipped to Mexico through legal ways, and he did not sell any fentanyl to the United States at all. For many countries, making fentanyl is not a difficult task. Not only pharmaceutical factories in China can make fentanyl, but also pharmaceutical factories in India, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, and Nigeria can make fentanyl in large quantities. The only reason Americans choose fentanyl made in China is the price. At the same level of quality, fentanyl made by Chinese pharmaceutical factories is the cheapest, and Chinese fentanyl dealer can provide excellent delivery service. Although Indian pharmaceutical factories are also coveting this big business, their cost of making fentanyl is a little higher than their Chinese counterparts, just a little. The U.S. government is completely unable to tilt the share of fentanyl imports to other countries through trade war means, such as raising import tariffs, because these underground transactions will not be declared to the U.S. Customs at all. In this chaotic market, Chinese fentanyl dealers have defeated their Indian and Mexican counterparts and become the largest supplier of fentanyl in the underground market in the United States by virtue of their weak price and quality advantages. In 2017, as part of the Great Plan that Make America Great Again, at the urging of President Trump, the two countries reached an agreement on cooperation in the fight against drugs. In fact, the main content of this agreement is that the Chinese government stops the shipment of Chinese fentanyl to the United States. In order to meet the demands of the Americans, the Chinese government has released enough sincerity. They list fentanyl as a controlled drug, and the transportation of fentanyl to the United States will be subject to the most severe punishment under Chinese law. As a result, China-made fentanyl once disappeared from the U.S. underground market. This anti-drug cooperation agreement is one of President Trump's publicized achievements, and the American media has also praised that President Xi has saved tens of thousands of American lives with his excellent humanitarian gesture. When the China-made fentanyl is not shipped to the United States, does it mean that the United States has won the fentanyl war? Not at all. In the 2 years since China-made fentanyl disappeared in America, India and Mexico have become the largest sources of fentanyl in America. In addition to the fentanyl made by regular pharmaceutical factories, Mexican drug cartels have also invested in the establishment of their own fentanyl factories, which are perfectly integrated with their traditional business of drug production and sales. They are more than happy to make better drugs to please their American guests. But last year, Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. Everything changed again. As part of its retaliation against the United States, China has terminated all cooperation with the United States in the fight against drugs. The fentanyl dealers active in China's underground world are about to move again. Their cargo ships full of fentanyl are about to set sail again. Americans will soon get a huge number of gifts from the mysterious ceased. An American official said angrily that fentanyl takes one life every 5 minutes, and fentanyl claimed more than 100,000 lives in America in the past year. He is very disappointed with China's actions. But his anger is meaningless. This is the choice of the free market, and it is also the choice of the top politicians in the United States, not China's responsibility at all. The real culprit for making drugs so popular in the United States is actually the Democratic Party. Democrats believes that the solution to the drug problem depends on the power of the market. They believe that legal, open and transparent market competition can regulate the drug market and reduce the harm of drugs. But Republicans regards the acceptance of drugs as a compromise with the devil and supports a severe crackdown on drugs. The Democratic Party is now planning to legalize drugs more widely, bring the drug market under the management of the U.S. government, and make drug use a fashion. Because doing so, they can make more money. Instead of letting the nasty Mexican drug cartels take all the money. In this way, the Democratic Party of the United States is quite possibly the largest supporter of drug use in the world.